Hi guys, welcome to this week's or fortnight's live. First, thank you for joining me, for those of you who decide to hop on, or if you're watching the playback later on. Firstly, I want to actually just do a quick brief overview of how I've chosen to approach these lives. So in the beginning, I was choosing a topic to discuss and sharing what the topic was going to be. And what I find is, for me personally, things shift and move quite a bit in my experience throughout the week with children, and I find it more valuable to allow the space for whatever unfolds through my week, through my work with children, through my discussions I have with people around their experience that they've had with their children throughout the week. I find it more valuable to see what themes pop up, what themes I notice, and then follow that and speak to that. And that's exactly what I've done today. So I literally felt into, about 30 minutes ago, what the theme was to be discussed tonight. And what came up for me was, and this is something that I've experienced my awareness of deepen in the past little while, is children and connection. So connection is something that is so essential to all of us. It's essential to our day-to-day life. It's essential to our survival. It's essential to feeling loved, feeling seen, feeling heard. It's essential to being able to live a healthy and fulfilled life. And in this context, we're discussing connection in relation to children. And something that I've noticed in my work with children is that as soon as I want to say we, but in this case, I become a little bit distracted, or a little bit preoccupied, or a little bit caught up in what we need to do next. Like we need to get to school by 9 o'clock or whatever it is, from a space of rushing, for example. The connection, it's almost like the connection has gone offline and the connection is lost. And each time these instances occur, so I'll give you an example. Say, this doesn't really happen anymore, but this is something I used to experience. Say I would get distracted. Say I'm sitting on the floor with the children, they're happy playing, doing their Lego or crafting or reading their books or doing whatever it is. They've dropped into that space where they're beautifully content and happy and doing what they need to do. And there can be a temptation in that moment to do something else. So part of the reason they're feeling safe to be able to drop into that space where they're content and able to do what they need to do is because we are present with them, and we are there, and we're holding the space for them to do what is they need to do. And it can be tempting to pick up. So for example, in the past, I might pick up my phone and start scrolling Facebook. Or start writing back to messages or emails, or go and start unloading the dishwasher, which sometimes is okay. I'm talking about every situation is unique. So I'm talking about instances where you start doing something else, trying to get a task done or doing something else, and all of a sudden the children drop out of that space of being content and in their own experience of play and exploration. And all of a sudden they need you. So they reach out, they come over, their behavior shifts. If they're a young child, that the noise that they make that lets you know you're needed. And what I notice is, from working with children, and this is just me working with children that in a part-time context. I'm sure when you've got your own full-time, that the experience is on another level, but they constantly call us in every moment into deeper connection with ourselves, and by extension, deeper connection with them. Because we can only connect to children, our children, and the children in our lives, and the people in our lives, for that matter. We can only connect to the depth that we're connected with ourselves. So when they feel the absence of our connection to ourselves, because that's also our connection to them, they let us know. So something like picking up my phone and starting to scroll Facebook, that's me distracting myself from myself. That's me causing a disconnect with myself. And the children feel that when we disconnect with ourselves. Hi, Em, thank you for joining me. Yes, they constantly call us in every moment into deeper connection with ourselves and deeper connection with them. Yep. And for me, it's also the connection with our heart. So sometimes we can be challenged to connect with ourselves because it's not always comfortable. The things that are going on within us and that are unfolding within us are not always rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes we're triggered, we're challenged, we've got unresolved stuff surfacing to be sorted out. We've got, especially when we're spending time around children, because so many of these things are rooted in our childhood. So if you're with a 2-year-old and you're feeling triggered, what is your inner 2-year-old trying to say or trying to express that never got heard and resolved and kind of put into its place and allowed to be processed and moved through? It's an opportunity in every moment. So yeah, I feel it's important to be aware of when we're looking for ways subconsciously, because we're so good at it. We have become so good at it that it happens subconsciously, and we're constantly looking for ways to distract ourselves from ourselves, and children feel it. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit and take things out to a wider perspective. But life in this day and age has become busy, distracting, constantly on the go, constantly needing to achieve, to the point where we feel guilty if we're not achieving something, when maybe actually stopping and resting and connecting with ourselves is achieving something huge beyond all of it. And it feels like it's really time for things to come back into balance. And part of that process means allowing a space for that connection. And the children feel it. They feel the busyness of our lives, and it's kind of their job. You know, they're here to remind us. That's what I find in my work with children. They teach me, they remind me what's important. They remind me to slow down. They remind me to stop. They remind me not to take things so seriously. They laugh, you know, they fall over and they get up and they laugh. They don't fall over and get up and say, oh, I'm such an idiot for falling over. You know, they just, they play, they do what they need to do, they explore, they, what we might perceive as screw up or make a mistake. And then it actually also comes from our attitude, how we relate to them falling over, or how we relate to them accidentally getting paint on the wall, or how we relate to them spilling the blocks all over the floor. That's a big part of it. But when they're allowed, when the space is held for them to do what they need to do, when these little things happen, they laugh about it and it moves through them, and they've released it and they've let go, and they're able to come back to just being in that connection with themselves and with us. Yeah, so that's something that has been discussed or touched on in a podcast that we recorded this week, that part of it will be released to the Facebook page hopefully sometime soon. And yeah, it just feels like this is something that's been a theme for me this week in my time with children and in my discussions with people. So I hope that it was valuable for you and you got something out of it. And hopefully it's a reminder for people. Children are so good at reminding us of these things, but sometimes we are so busy and distracted and caught up in the doing side of things that we're not always seeing those opportunities, So I feel that reminders are so important to pull us back into remembering what's important. So thank you for joining me. If you have any comments to share, I would absolutely love to read them. Any stories, any reflections, anything that pops up for you, if you've had similar experiences. And again, if any suggestions pop up for topics that you want to see discussed, I'm open to that as well. And hopefully get a lot out of this. And I'll see you I will be starting to do these weekly, hopefully soon. I'm not sure when, sometime soon. So at this point, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And in the near future, we'll be releasing these every week. So stay tuned. Thank you. Bye.